Buying expensive cables is a complete waste of money. We tested several different brands in this video right here and even busted out the power tools for some constructive disassembly. When it was all said and done, we found that they pretty much all met spec and pretty much were all the same, but I wanted to do a follow-up to that and talk about the one that, after all of our testing, was my favorite. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of cables from Silkland Cables. Now, full disclosure, while Silkland didn't sponsor this review, they did send us some cables to take a look at. However, these particular ones, I actually bought myself. The originals met with an early demise for another video. But after the originals were sacrificed for science, I was impressed enough and a little guilty for destroying the free ones that they sent over that I decided to order more so I can go a little more in depth with you guys over why I like them so much. So we talked about in that previous video how basically any cable that is Visa certified will hit the spec that it's rated for. So, I mean, that pretty much settles it, right guys? Just buy the cheapest one you can find on Amazon. Well, it's not quite as simple as that. So there's three things, in my opinion, you're still gonna wanna keep an eye on whenever you go to buy cables. You're gonna wanna look at one, the build quality of the connectors, the actual insulation and jacket of the cable, and finally, price. The sweet spot I found usually falls somewhere around $2.50 a foot US, and that's exactly where these cables come in. So these Silkland cables hit all 3 points. The 6.6 foot DisplayPort 2.1 cable comes in on Amazon right at $16 with all of their other options, be it DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.1, USB-C to DisplayPort, pretty much any cable you need, falling right in that range within a few cents per foot. When it comes to insulation and jacket, these cables are great with a solid inner insulation and a well-constructed braid to prevent any interference that you may run into. The gauge is also more than thick enough to send a signal at spec across the recommended length. Now, length is an important factor you want to keep in mind whenever you're buying your cables, as it becomes exponentially more difficult to reliably send and receive a signal the longer the cable gets. In fact, for HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 2.1, I'd recommend trying to keep the length of your cable under 2 meters unless absolutely necessary to go longer. Finally, the build quality of the connectors on the end. And no, I'm not talking about, does it have pretty gold or copper plating? That part of the cable plays absolutely no role in sending or receiving any information and is purely just marketing woo in most cases. What I want to see is it a metal sleeve or is it plastic or rubber? Is the length of it long enough to prevent any bending or crimping right at the ends? Now, these are DisplayPort and HDMI cables. You don't need to worry about burning down your house. It's not a 4090, but it is important for the longevity of the cable that it can go in and not actually bend right at the connector, which can cause wire breaking and pulling, things like that, which will significantly reduce the lifespan of your cable. And lifespan is an important buying point. See, if you're getting something like a DisplayPort 2.1 cable, you're probably going to be holding on to it for a while. I don't really see the need for us to go past 10K, 120 hertz anytime soon. I mean, it'll probably be years before panels that take full advantage of the spec even exist. And that's why, with all that said, I do think Silkland Cables is probably a brand you want to look for if you are in the market for a new cable. It's a solid, well-built cable at a great price that more than meets its Visa certified rated specs. And we have links for these two, as well as other great cables from Silkland, down in the description. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, don't forget to check out one of these. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out some of our other content, and as always, thanks for watching.